The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro, bringing you the biggest headlines from around the world. Russian President Vladimir Putin makes a surprise visit to the Russian-occupied Ukrainian city of Mariupol, just a day after being accused of war crimes by the International Criminal Court. Putin's visit to Mariupol also marks Putin's first trip to Russian-occupied territories of Ukraine's Donbas region since the start of the war. State television showed extended footage of Putin being shown around the city over the weekend, meeting rehoused residents and being briefed on reconstruction efforts by Deputy Prime Minister Marat Kunshnulin. Mariupol fell to Russia in May after one of the war's longest and bloodiest battles. It was Russia's first major victory after it failed to seize Kyiv and focused instead on southeastern Ukraine. On Friday, the ICC issued an arrest warrant against Putin, accusing him of the war crime of illegally deporting hundreds of children from Ukraine, a highly symbolic move that further isolates the Russian leader. Chinese President Xi Jinping is heading to Russia with hopes to position himself as a peacemaker in Moscow's war with Ukraine. China's Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said that Beijing would, quote, play a constructive role in promoting peace talks. The official added that China can say that it is a trusted friend of both Ukraine and Russia. Rumors of Xi possibly holding his first call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky have also been floating. Russian President Vladimir Putin, on the other hand, welcomed China's role in its conflict with Ukraine. Putin says he has high hopes for Xi's visit, calling the Chinese leader, quote, his old friend. Meanwhile, North Korea fires a ballistic missile as a warning against the joint military drills between the U.S. and South Korea. Sunday's launch comes after Washington and Seoul began its 11-day drills a week ago, and the latest in a series of tests carried out by North Korea. Seoul has previously condemned North Korea's ballistic missile launches as a clear violation of a UN resolution. The launches have also prompted criticism from Tokyo and Washington, with Japan deeming North Korea's launches as threats to international peace and security. Meanwhile, Pyongyang criticized the U.S., which it says is mounting a human rights campaign against North Korea, while staging joint military exercises that threaten its national security. Protests continue across France over the government's pension reforms. Protesters and police in the French capital, Paris, have clashed for a third night as thousands took to the streets. This comes after President Emmanuel Macron decided to force through changes to the retirement age without a vote in parliament. Macron wants to raise pension age by 2 years to 64, which he insists is necessary to keep the French pension system viable. His move has infuriated the political opposition, which could hamper his government's ability to pass legislation for the rest of his term.
It's not the garbage collectors who set off the fires. It is in fact Macron who lit the fire by using the 49.3 article. If he had any parliament votes left, a vote which we must have thought he'd lose, we wouldn't have seen any fires in Concord. It would have been a party and no bins would have burned, and we would be back at work and wouldn't still be striking today.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now World. I'm Jago Castro. Police in Pakistan have filed terrorism charges against former Prime Minister Imran Khan. This came after Khan's followers clashed with police, where 50 were injured and several cars were torched. Authorities have been compelling Khan to address charges of unlawfully selling state gifts, which he has since denied. Khan and his supporters are also facing cases in relation to obstruction of police operations and attacks on officers. 70-year-old Khan was ousted from power after losing a no-confidence vote in his leadership last April. A Pentagon study finds high rates of cancer among military pilots and showed for the first time that ground crews who fuel, maintain, and launch those aircraft are also getting sick. The data had long been sought by retired military aviators who have raised alarms for years about the number of air and ground crew members they knew who had cancer. Earlier military studies had found that they were not at greater risk than the general U.S. population. But in the recent year-long study of almost 900,000 service members who flew or worked on military aircraft between 1992 and 2017, the Pentagon found that aircrew members had an 87% higher rate of melanoma and a 39% higher rate of thyroid cancer. Overall, the air crews had a 24% higher rate of cancer of all types. The Pentagon is now gearing to conduct an even bigger review to try to understand why the crews are getting sick. Pop superstar Taylor Swift kicks off her Eras Tour with a 3-hour concert in Arizona, U.S. She performed 44 songs at the State Farm Stadium in Glendale, where the Super Bowl was held in February. Swift's setlist touched on all eras of her career, from her 2006 self-titled debut to her recent album, Midnights. Prior to the start of her tour, the singer-songwriter dropped 4 unreleased tracks. The concert was reportedly attended by over 70,000 Swifties. And those are the top stories, top world headlines of the hour. Join us again at 9 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. Coming right up is Agenda at 8 a.m. I'm Jago Castro. We are One News. All sides, all the time.